All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, last week, the Toronto Blue Jays got the approval to play at the Rogers Center in Toronto, Canada. The Blue Jays will have their first game at the Rogers Center next Friday versus the Kansas City Royals. This will be the Blue Jays' first home game in Toronto since September 29th, 2019, when they hosted the Tampa Bay Rays. Of course, this comes on the heels of the COVID-19 pandemic. It forced the Blue Jays not to be able to play in Canada last season. They played all of their home games during the 2020 MLB season in Buffalo, while this season they split games between Buffalo and their spring training facility in Florida. Now, this is a big step for the Blue Jays, as I'm sure that the baseball fans in Toronto have to be excited to welcome their club back, especially since the Jays find themselves in the midst of a playoff push. Toronto enters action today, 6 games behind the Boston Red Sox for first place in the American League East. They are in third place in that division, and that's important because they welcome Boston to Buffalo for a series beginning tonight. On top of that, the Blue Jays are just 2.5 games behind the Oakland Athletics for the final wild card spot in the American League. Now, aside from all of that, the fans in Toronto will have an opportunity to see up close and personal Vlad Guerrero Jr. And of course, we saw what he did during the All-Star game. We've all seen what he's done so far for the first half of the season. And you're looking at Vlad Jr. He is not only an MVP candidate, but he's also a Triple Crown candidate as well. This guy is leading the American League in batting at 333. His 31 home runs are second just to Shohei Ohtani of the Los Angeles Angels, and his 78 runs batted in also lead the junior circuit. So, with that said, this guy is the real deal. And you know what? When you have that type of star power, people are definitely going to want to come out and see him play. But nonetheless, playing at the Rogers Center right now for the Blue Jays is the equivalent to making a big trade. And I'll tell you why. This is just theoretically before the trade deadline in Major League Baseball. And typically, when teams are in contention, they're looking for that big move to kind of give the clubhouse a boost of morale. This will definitely give the Blue Jays a boost of morale. Why? Because they have some home cooking. They're playing in front of their fans. They have an opportunity, okay, to get a fan base behind them. The people in Buffalo have supported them. The people down in Florida have supported them, but it's not the same as being at home. And one thing that we've seen over the years, when you have a situation with a team in Toronto, when they are competing, the fans will definitely come out and support. You think back to the championship run that the Toronto Raptors in the NBA enjoyed a few years ago. And I think, these fans in that same light, they're going to come out and support this team. Make no mistake about it. Of course, the Raptors, they didn't play any home games for the past NBA season due to COVID restrictions in Toronto. They were playing in Tampa, Florida. So with that said, you know what? These fans are finally going to have an opportunity to see one of their home teams play. I know that the Maple Leafs did play during the regular season in the NHL at home. And of course, they made the playoffs. And of course, unfortunately for them, they had a tough exit at the hands of the Montreal Canadiens. But nonetheless, this is a situation for this city and province to get behind the Blue Jays as they are looking to make that postseason push. You look at it, and it's so important for a team to have an arena or a stadium to call their own. We've seen it throughout the years. Sometimes when teams are about to leave one city for another, they struggle until they get to that home to that new facility. Or when teams have been displaced for natural disasters, they're in the stadium renovation, you name it. I think back to one thing that comes to mind when the Houston Oilers left the city of Houston in favor of Tennessee. And of course, those first couple of years, they were bouncing around, playing in Nashville and playing in Memphis before their stadium was built. And once the Titans got that stadium, you know what? Things were different. You think back a couple of years ago when the Rams were finishing up in St. Louis, it was not pretty. And then they got to LA, and slowly but steadily, they were able to build something and get some footing under them. I think this has the same opportunity for the Jays because aside from Vlad Jr., they do have a young core with the likes of Clavin Biggio and Bo Bichette. They went out and spent some money on George Springer this offseason, and I think the Jays are definitely going to be in the mix to get another arm for this rotation because you know what? They're going to need a couple more pieces if they are really going to be legit. Oakland is a tough team that Toronto's going to have to overtake for that second wild card spot. And then on top of that, they have to deal with the daily grind that is the American League East. The New York Yankees, they took 2 out of 3 over the weekend from the Boston Red Sox. They want to try to make a charge themselves to get that second wild card. And then you still have to deal with Tampa and Boston. So nonetheless, it has to be an all hands on deck mentality for the Toronto Blue Jays as they look to make that push. But just maybe, this could just be what the doctor ordered for Toronto as far as them making that playoff push. Maybe they can build some momentum off of this as they look to catapult and get that second wild card. And I think it would be a huge boost for Toronto if they were able to do it for this young Jays team. Remember, the Blue Jays did make the playoffs last year. They fell in the first round to the Tampa Bay Rays. And like I said before, maybe, just maybe, they would be able to use that learning experience from the postseason in 2020 to build off of that here in 2021. The Jays are right in the mix. It's just that American League East is so tough. But like I said before, maybe playing at home in front of the home fans could be the equivalent of getting a big trade or getting somebody back from the disabled list that has not been on this team for some time as you look to take that next step. So I think it's big for Toronto to be at home. I think it's big for their fans to get the opportunity to see the likes of Vlad Jr. because this guy I can't even say he's a star in the makings. He is a star because at this point, he's probably either going to win the MVP outright in the American League, or we're going to have a co-MVP with Vlad and Shohei Ohtani, because for what it's worth, if Vlad gets a triple crown, it's hard to vote against a guy to not be MVP and do that. Or if Vlad takes 2 out of 3 of those categories, it's still hard to vote against him. But then you look at what Shohei's doing this year, 34 home runs. And of course, he's also doing it while he pitches every 5th day for the Angels. But nonetheless, these fans definitely want to get behind Vlad Jr., see him in person, cheer on this team. And if the Jays can keep this going, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, this is what they need to propel them to a postseason berth for the first time in 5 years. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There is also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.